Okay, and then come to the time, and we already talked about that a little bit. Because more or less the Mexican Americans come from agriculture, agriculture culture, for them time is very flexible. Because they say the crops don't care when they are picked up. So this is more or less the whole flexibility about time. So when they tell you around 9, they don't mean 9. 9:10, 9:15, 9:30 is acceptable. And I see that on Christmas. Like if I want everybody to be in the house by 3, you know, I tell them it's 1 o'clock. Because I know they will show up 3:30. It's in our own family, you know, because time is just flexible. It's okay, big deal, you know, it just, everything is fluid and flexible about time. And that's why you will see them late for appointments, or they might not even show for appointments. Because time is, because something else came up. Because a neighbor wanted a drive to somewhere else. Because again, it's Familismo. Because their cousin needed help with moving. Because, you know, so family comes first. So that's why time for them is kind of flexible. Because they believe God is in control, they believe in the presence. And like we said, deadlines don't mean a lot to them. And also preventive medicine doesn't make sense to them, like we said before. So in punto, meaning like right on time, doesn't make a lot of sense to Hispanic or Latinos at all. Polychronic time is fluid, we talked about that, and preventive. And then healthcare providers have to have an attitude of worms. And there is always, I know that as healthcare providers, we are very limited with time, especially now that a lot of people have been moved around, people laid off. I don't know how is the status here in San Diego, but I know in other places they have been like even moved to other departments or moved around or even laid off. So the numbers of people to take care of the same number of patients or a growing number of patients becoming less and less. So we don't really have the time to spend that time with the patients. So they consider it rude, and they consider it like you don't care. Clothing. Being very well dressed is hugely important in the Latino and culture because their appearance is very important to them. That's why when they go to churches, they are totally dressed, like ties and full suits and very bright colors, dresses, high heels and everything. Being dressed and showing off like their appearance is very important to them and their life. So it's part of their pride. Formal attire is usually done, though now because more and more younger generations are here, so blue jeans and tennis shoes are a little bit accepted, but definitely not in church. You know, so it just, attire and very professional attire is very important for them going to churches. They're very vivid in colors. They like a lot of colors. Even the furniture at home is different, especially the people that are coming, that are first generation here. And they remind me a lot, believe it or not, with the furniture back home. So they have these big pieces of furniture, sometimes they're golden frames around the couches and the chairs. So it's a totally different culture and way of dealing with colors. And we can see that in the murals in the Hispanic areas. And then we have the parties. And in the parties, usually you will feel like if people are talking to each other, sometimes they're loud and you think that they're fighting, but they're actually, the more involved you are in a conversation, the more passionate that you are, actually the more louder your voice will get. And they will consume a lot of alcohol and tobacco in these parties, a lot of food that might not be healthy, you know, and they will be there till late of the night. And they say that when you offer someone food, they might not take it from the first time. So you have to actually offer it for a second time, and then they will accept it. So, hugging, there is a beso and an abrazo. A beso when you give someone a kiss on the cheeks. And usually women, when they meet each other, they give a kiss on the cheek. And if like they're close cousins or whatever, they will do that, male and female. If they don't know each other, they will just shake the hand. And then the males actually can hug each other and give a pat on the back. And that's an abrazo or a hug. And it's common. It's not weird. This is the culture, you know. So respect, laughing loud and playing music at high volumes is very, very common. And people can come unannounced to the house. They don't have to make an appointment. They don't see if it's convenient for you, because there is an expression that says, mi casa es su casa, meaning my house is your house, so you come at any time. So if someone is going out of town, they could stay with friends of their cousins. I guess I'm loud. So they will stay with friends of their cousins, because it's familismo, because it's family, because it's a community. And it's okay to do that. People will go out of their way for people that they have never met before, just because they're friends of their cousins. Again, it's family, you know, it's about a community, it's about support to each other. So, and then honor is huge. So like I said, men will actually fight for the honor of their family, especially of their females. Honor is very big. Honor, pride, not being shamed in public, and that's why women will in public will give all the respect due to the man, especially in public, not to shame him. So you don't shame your elders, you don't shame your parents, you know, and everything has to do with family. So all the decisions that anyone takes, it doesn't have to be on their own benefit. If it conflicts with the benefit of the family and their benefit, they will do what's good for the family. So it's all about honor and honoring and helping and serving the family properly. Communication. There are, in general, there are barriers to communication, and these barriers are physical. Physical, when we actually have a space between us and the other person. So we can be talking on the phone, or we can be in another room, or we have a wall separation between us, or we can be talking somewhere where the phones are ringing too loud, or it's too hot, or it's too cold. All these conditions will actually be in the way of having proper communication. Then there is perceptual. Perceptual, when we have perceptions and we assume things. Like, for example, if I tell you my neighbor just bought an expensive car. Yeah, how much do you think it is?
Where do you live?
I live in Burbank.
Expensive.
How much would you think if I say an expensive car? What the number that comes to your mind? 50?
60, 80,000.
60? 80? What else?
120.
20?
You're in Burbank, so 120.
120, okay. What is expensive to you, Anna? An expensive car?
25,000.
25,000. Andrea? 40,000. Margaret?
80.
80.
30,000.
30,000. See? Our perception is different of what expensive is. Someone can be, it's $1 million, it's a Lamborghini. That's an expensive car. And some people, an expensive car will be $10,000, $25,000. So our perceptions are different. That's why we cannot assume to know how other people perceive us. That's why we cannot perceive how other people are. So when we perceive things that is different, a total chaos happen in the communication channels. We don't get it. Because I'll be talking, like, I could be in my mind, I'll be talking, oh, they got an expensive car, and in my mind it's 120. When the person in front of me thinks it's 50, so we are going to be talking about things that, whatever they say won't make sense to me, and whatever I'm saying will not make sense to them. So there will be a miscommunication right there, a barrier of communication. Then there is the age. Different generations are affected by the era they grew up in. So they communicate differently. So that's another barrier if we don't understand that. Genders. We all know women are from Venus and men are from Mars. So there is a huge difference of communication between both. How many words do you think a woman speaks a day?
Too many.
That's what my husband says. How many? 25,000 words. How many words do you think a man in average speaks a day? 12. Exactly half. Men categorize things. So they put things in drawers. You know, like they are at work, they're with their friends, they are at home. How many of you ask their husband to bring something on their way back home and they don't?
It's going to happen tonight, I'll tell you that.
Not because he's ignoring you, and not because he doesn't want to do it. It's because you talked to him at work, and he was concentrating at work. So you added something to his plate that is out of his comfort zone, so he's not going to do it. He will forget. And also women kind of, because we are mothers, daughters, sisters, we kind of nurture relationships. So the way we talk is different. And we imply things. Men are direct. So if I want to go to Jamaica, you know, I wait when my husband is in a good mood, and I show him a commercial on TV. Oh my God, look at the ocean, how clear it is. Yeah. And then, oh my God, they have a discount on the sandals properties. Yeah. And I'm like, you know that this time of the year is great in Jamaica. And he goes, can I watch my program? You know, he doesn't even get it, where I can just say, you know what, if he wants to go to Jamaica, tell me, let's go to Jamaica. As easy as that. But I find ways to go around it because I don't want to be direct. So that's more or less a barrier of communication between genders. And then there is definitely the cultures. There are signs and symbols that mean different things to different people. Like the number 13. Number 13 means different things to different people. 13 can be a bad luck, it can be a good luck thing. Bad luck for most of the Christians because the Last Supper had 13 people on the table. You know, and it's good for in the Jewish religion because in the Talmud, God had 13 attributes. The number 4 in the Asian, for example, community or culture means death. So it's not a good number. So there are different numbers to different people that cause different colors mean different things. Like the white, they use it in, white is death, for example, in the Asian community. It's weddings in the Middle East. So it's just like communication, even verbal, like signs. This in Brazil is an insult. And for us here is like, okay, you know, and it means money in Japan, or 0 in France, and in Egypt it's a threatening sign. So even by symbols, communication can be broken, and we need to keep that in mind. So these are more or less the barriers of communication. Then interpersonal relations in the Hispanic or Latino community is based, like we said, respect, trust, warmth, and closeness. Confianza is the trust, like we were just talking right now, Casey, about how to establish trust, and which is confianza with the patients. And then, like I said, know a few Spanish expressions and know what mal de ojo means and how they translate it. Your facial eye contact, some of the Hispanics or Latinos will keep eye contact with you for a little bit and then will cut it because it's out of respect. So follow their cues. You know, try to follow their cues, either like look at them and then try to pat them on the shoulder, you know, welcome them in your office. And by the way, the space, the personal space is a lot smaller in the Latino community, in the Latino culture. So the 2 feet polite stand between you and another person that we have here, or the arm length, can be considered not warm. So you have to be actually a little bit closer to the person. Not if it's a female, but at least, you know, at least a little bit closer, not the actual 2 feet, so they feel that you are close to them. Your face has to have like a nice, genuine smile. And gestures, make sure to like passe, you know, sit down. And for example, when the Hispanics give you direction, they give you direction with all their fingers. Because with one finger, actually, it has a sexual meaning. So they give you with all your fingers, all the fingers, for example. So. Voice intonation. There is a tendency of people when they talk to people that don't speak English or have a heavy accent in English to speak louder. They think that they're going to understand better. Actually, it comes to a point where it becomes really rude and people are taking it as an insult. Because it's not, if they don't speak English, being louder than you usually are is not going to make them understand English. So they feel that you're actually demeaning them. So have like a normal tone of voice. Modesty is important. So if you have a female patient, ask them what kind, you know, what kind of interpreter, what kind of age she wants to have a female in the room or not. And in all cases, male or female, the area from the waist up to the knees is considered a very, what's the word for it? Always make sure that it's covered. because it's considered a modest area between the waist up to the knees. Addressing Latinos, you always do usted and tú. And when they talk to you, have empathy when you're talking to them. And make sure to be active listening, not just hearing. And there is a difference between hearing and active listening. Active listening when you're actually paying attention and you're not already judging them in your mind. You're not labeling them. And you're not saying, oh, they just don't know what they're going. They're losing my time. Or you're not trying to think, oh, this is what they're going to say. I see it every day. Once you do that, you actually break that channel of active listening. So make sure to active listening. And at the end, ask questions, open-ended questions, not a yes or no question. Ask them questions to make sure that you are understanding, and they will feel like you care. You're actually asking them what they mean.